Hi there, this is Geoff Riley with a special video looking at some examples of how to use generative AI in economics teaching and suggestions for helping students along the way. Well, this is a picture AI generated of the kind of lessons that I had when I was a student at university, the tutorial at Cambridge, sat around discussing, debating, dissecting with a professor or with a fellow. The absence of technology, of course, prominent, but the session, of course, was no less worthwhile as a result. Here's a picture perhaps of a more modern day classroom, and who knows what the future will be. But what we do know is that AI is already embedded into many aspects of teaching and learning. And so I thought I'd spend a few minutes with you looking at some examples of how we can use conversational AI and intelligent prompting to get some much better outcomes for both teachers and also for students. A quick recap on the basics. AI is where machines or systems are programmed, they're taught to mimic human intelligence, and they nearly always make use of an LLM, a large language model, which is a type of AI. It's basically a deep learning network that has seen or been trained on many billions of words or pictures or videos from the open web. Of course, the choice of data set that the model is trained on is critical. So, for example, if you're typing into ChatGPT or some other program, define price elasticity of demand, pretty standard economics term, AI would break it down into the following tokens. Define would be one token, price would be one. Elasticity, slightly longer word, that would be two tokens. And so basically they break a word down into tokens. Longer words get broken up into smaller sections. On average, one token is about 0.75 of a word. So if you're typing in, explain to me monopolistic competition, you've already used 4, possibly 5 tokens straight away. Each token is then turned into a unique vector, and that's a set of numbers that represents the meaning and context of the word. Now, the vector is how the AI understands the word based on patterns it's learnt from vast amounts of text it's been trained on. So price might be turned into a vector with 0.1, 0.3, minus 0.5, etc. Demand would have its own vector similarly. AI then processes these vectors using a large language model, a neural network. The model looks at the vectors and considers context, how the words relate to each other in a sentence. Price and demand often related. They appear pretty often in economics contexts. And patterns it's learned. It's seen many millions of examples of how people talk or write about price elasticity of demand. So it knows what kind of answer might be needed to predict, and this is the key, to predict the next word and then generate text as an answer for the user. So the user has put in an input, and of course the AI generates the output. So I'll talk you through some examples of interesting ways in which students and teachers can now use AI in their economics lessons. And the challenge really is to encourage students to use conversational AI, not just throw in sort of fairly random or just distinct, unique prompts. Have a conversation with your large language model and see what comes out. I think it's quite important to practice and have a go at prompt engineering to see the results that you get. Let me take you through a very quick learning journey. So here's my input on the left-hand side. Hi, I'm an A-level economics student. How can I improve my knowledge and understanding of behavioural economics? Note the spelling. The note there to the ChatGPT is to use UK or English spelling. Here's the result that comes out, and some nice introductory concepts. Here's a step-by-step guide tailored to your level. So some core concepts such as heuristics and anchoring and loss aversion. That obviously recognises outstanding online platforms like Tutor2You. It suggests I read some popular books, including Danny Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow and Thaler's Nudge and Dan Ariely's Predictably Irrational. And it suggests I watch videos and listen to podcasts. So there's nothing instinctive, there's nothing incorrect about that. It's not groundbreaking, but it's the first response to a prompt. Now then come back. Okay, loss aversion sounds interesting. Please explain it with some real-world examples to help my understanding. So that's my second prompt. And it comes back with an explanation and a nice idea there about the loss of £10 feels more painful than the pleasure the benefit from a gain of £10. It links it to the endowment effect, and it starts to build. I'm not showing everything here, but it starts to build some nice real-world examples of loss aversion, including the stock market behaviour when investors tend to hesitate, delay selling stocks that have declined in value because they fear the realised pain of a loss, even though it could be rational to sell and cut your losses. Here's my third prompt. If you were a top behavioural economist, so a little bit of persona prompting here, which 10 ideas from behavioural economics would you suggest I know about? Just one line on each, please. So it's a conversational prompt. And here's the answer. Here's a concise list of 10 key behavioural ideas, each explained in one line. And it's a pretty good line. I mean, I know about behavioural economics. I've been teaching for 40 years. I know what these mean. But if you're a student and you're looking for 10 key ideas that might be interesting to develop, this is pretty good. Let me know if you'd like to deeper dive into any of these. Okay, wow, thanks. By the way, there are some increasing, a lot of these AI models now do respond in a positive way, empathetic AI, if you want to give it another phrase, to this kind of conversational prompting. So, wow, thanks. Just to help me, can you create flashcards for each of these concepts so I can revise them? Well, yes. There's the answer. Oh, yeah, by the way, can you download them into, please provide them and present them in a way that I can download as a Word file, so give that as a prompt, or in Excel, so I can upload it into my Quizlet account. So there we go. There's 10 behavioural economics flashcards, which you can download if you look at the top and right-hand side there, and upload into Quizlet. So often if you're using multiple platforms, if you're using Quizlet or other revision flashcard software, you can go straight now from your ChatGPT to your revision account. Input 5. So this is conversational prompting. I want to be more ambitious. I want to understand 20 behavioural economics ideas, not 10, 20. Please help. Okay? So that's a fantastic goal. Here's a list of 20 ideas, building on the previous 10, which are then shown there, adding more advanced concepts to deepen your understanding. Well, there's the original 10 that we had. Here are 10 more. There's a little bit of overlap here. So, for example, social norms, default bias, number 9 there, and status quo bias, 15. But, I mean, they're obviously related. But there's some nice stuff there, the sunk cost fallacy, bit of prospect theory, reciprocity, all that kind of stuff. So suddenly I've now got 20 concepts as my learning journey continues. This is so cool. I feel I'm ready for a quick test. Can you please create 6, could be 10, each you choose, 6 multiple choice questions on these ideas. Okay, and then they generate some multiple choice questions for you. Oh, don't forget to prompt the AI to say, well, leave the answers until the end, please, so I can have a go at the questions, that kind of stuff. Okay, and there's some nice questions here which students can then have a go at. And then, I call this intelligent conversational prompting. So I'm on a learning journey here. I've been learning about Keynes. So did Keynes offer anything in this area? So my prompt number 7, did Keynes have anything to say about behavioural economics? Well, the answer that comes back is really interesting. So Keynes was not explicitly a behavioural economist in a modern sense, made significant contributions that align closely with behavioural economics ideas, and some really good stuff here on animal spirits, the psychological and emotional factors that drive spending and saving behaviour, linking neatly to more modern behavioural economists, George Akerlof, who's written a book on identity economics with Bob Schiller, herd behaviour. So Keynes obviously had something really interesting to say about the psychology of investors. In that sense, he was well ahead of his time. And this aligns with the behavioural concept of social norms and herding. So I'm now starting my AI conversation to go into economic thinking. And you can take this further. The question I'll ask now is, where else might you take this series of prompts? I'd be really interested to see any questions and comments in the video section, the comment section of the video. One is you could then get the AI to challenge and question. So, for example, you could take one or two of these behavioural concepts and say, well, how have these concepts been challenged in conventional economics? What are the limitations of behavioural science? But here's another approach, and it's one I'd love you to try. So rather than ask the AI questions, which is what 90% of students do when they're using AI, you should get the AI to ask you the teacher, or you, if you're watching this as a student, the questions. I'm working here off the superb work of Steve Birtles. And my reference here is Conversational Artificial Intelligence for Teaching and Learning, Integration and Normalization, the Caitlin Initiative. And if you just type Steve Birtles, Caitlin into Google, you'll be able to download his regular and most recent work on this area. So what Steve has done here is kind of flipping the AI. I've just tweaked it slightly based on his concepts for my subject. So I am an ambitious 18-year-old student studying for my A-levels. Okay, the following definitions are critical to all our interactions from now. So I then give them a whole series of prompts. Okay, look at number 2. A passive interaction is one in which I ask you the questions, you give me the answers. This is not desirable as it doesn't help me learn. Number 3, an active interaction is one in which you ask me questions and should be your top priority. Number 4, don't offer to explain something to me unless you've given me a chance to have a go at explaining it myself. If I make a mistake, please do point it out, but wait for me to correct myself before telling me what the right answer is. I need you to use language that's appropriate for my age and ability. Although my goal is to know specific terminology, don't assume I already do so. Please be prepared to introduce terms as required. Define them if they're new to me. So this is really interesting, and I think the work of Birtles here and others is significant, both for teachers and students. So get AI to ask you questions instead of you just prompting AI to give you content. And here's the response. Got it. Your definitions for learning and active interaction are clear. I will prioritise making this an active learning experience for you. Let's dive into the material. I'll ask you questions, give you a chance to respond, and guide the discussion based on your answers. So then we can start a process of conversational AI with the questions flowing in the opposite direction. And I really strongly encourage students and teachers to have a go at this. Another way of thinking about AI use in the economics classroom is to really try and encourage intelligent prompts. Here's an example. We're moving a little bit away here from behavioural economics. Let's move into the areas of the economics of innovation. And here's my first prompt. So this would be a new chat GPT experience. Input prompt 1. What are the causes of innovation as might be explained by the economist Joseph Schumpeter? Okay, now you can tidy this up a little bit, but you could just change the economist. Okay, so Friedrich Hayek or whatever it is, Karl Marx. Please limit the answer to 200 words. Now, you might want a shorter answer. You might want a longer answer. But the prompts are just framing what's going to come back. And you actually end up getting a 4-paragraph answer, which is, I've read it through, and you might want to press the pause button on the video and have a read yourself. But it's actually really quite a good, strong, accurate, and important summary, if you like, of Schumpeter's work. Schumpeter was an Austrian economist. He emphasised creative destruction, when new technologies, new ideas, including AI, disrupt and replace outdated ones. Central role for entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs driving the innovative process. And I think all A-level economists should know something about Schumpeter, perhaps one of the leading economists in the first half of the 20th century. So a nice answer there. Input prompt 2. I'm fascinated by this topic. This is conversational AI, by the way. Which economists in the last 20 years might be the smartest experts on the issue of innovation and growth? Please provide a brief list of 5 such economists. And the AI comes up with Paul Romer, Darren Acemoglu, who recently won the Nobel Prize, Mariana Mazzucato, very important economist from UCL, Philippe Ayant, and Erik Brynjolfsson. Now, I didn't know much about the first. I didn't know much about the last 2 there. Philippe Ayant and Erik Brynjolfsson. I really want to find out more about those so I could continue the conversation. I've heard of Roma, I've definitely heard of Acemoglu, and I know the work of Mazzucato. Please contrast. Let's get a look at fiscal policy here. So sometimes you can use prompts to get the AI to compare and contrast. So here we go. Please contrast the views of John Maynard Keynes and Friedrich Hayek on the use of a fiscal stimulus to increase demand after an economic shock. 200 words maximum, please. Look, you could make it 400 words, but 200 words gives a nice, crisp summary, in my opinion. And a good response, articulating the comparison and the contrast between Keynes and Hayek in terms of the use of fiscal policy. And it's a good way of just picking up very quickly different schools of thought. And let me develop the prompt. If Keynes was alive today, how might he advise the new 2024 Labour government on how to raise the trend rate of growth in the economy. 150 words maximum, please. And again, a shorter series of answers, but some good stuff. There's nothing surprising here, but quite a nice reminder of some of the key areas in terms of infrastructure, human capital, R&D, and institutional reform, including things like planning reform. Now, crucially, when one thinks about these, the most important thing to remember is that when you're using ChatGPT and other models, the GPT process has memory if you are embedded in a series of ongoing queries, ongoing prompts. Okay? It remembers the conversation and, as a result, in general, works better at homing in on specific useful answers for you. So this is why conversational AI is important. If you're embedded in a series of queries and prompts, but it doesn't carry it into distinct future prompts. In that sense, ChatGPT doesn't learn. It's been trained, but it doesn't learn. Rather like my own students. Here's an input prompt. Which areas of investment are needed in the UK economy in 2025? Please give real-world examples, 150 words. So there's 3 prompts there. And it comes up with green energy, transport infrastructure, some of those examples there, digital infrastructure, health and social care, skills and education. Look, if you've got a question on supply-side policies and the need for investment, that is a pretty solid list of areas to focus on. So I've taken you on some examples of the ways in which a conversational approach to AI can bring quite really good, encouraging, positive results. If it's okay with you, I just want to spend a few minutes thinking about how you can use generative AI to create revision aids. So our focus here could be on teachers, but also students wanting to use AI very specifically as exams come into focus. And AI can be used in lots of ways. Summaries, distilling complex topics into concise summaries. Generating flashcards, as we've seen. Generating key term glossaries. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. Generating practice questions, explaining difficult concepts, automating study notes, generating revision plans and case studies. Again, we'll look at that in a second. Real-time updates, especially the AI that can now search the web in real time. You're seeing that now, obviously, with things like Google search. And crucially, the elephant in the room, I guess, is offering instant feedback and marking student responses to exam questions, about which Tutor 2 will have a lot to say as we go into 2025. So flashcards, input prompt, create flashcards for determinants of price elasticity of demand, make them downloadable into a Word document. If you're looking to create flashcards, get the specification out, find the areas where you want the flashcards, and let the AI do the heavy lifting. By the way, you can now, with most versions of ChatGPT and others, you can now attach a file. It could be a PDF file, it could be a PowerPoint, and it will use it. So here we go. There's if you go to the Tutor 2 website, you can download a whole series of presentations on all the key topics by exam board. Here's one on price elasticity of supply. Here's my input prompt. Generate exam-style questions based on the slides. You attach the PowerPoint to PPT, and it generates some questions. Explain why perishable goods tend to have inelastic supply. Discuss factors that make the supply of EVs that could make the supply of electric vehicle charging points more elastic. And again, AI can organise the factors affecting PS into tables, so you can basically get the AI to generate some questions and also to generate some table-based summaries for your revision notes. So the key point here is you can attach a PowerPoint or a PDF file and then get the ChatGPT to assimilate it. Generating key term glossaries. House of Commons Library on the right-hand side there, they do regular updates on the UK economy. Here's one on household debt from just before Christmas. So my input prompt was create a glossary of key terms from the attached PDF file. This is what comes up. Based on the document provided, here's a glossary of key terms relevant to its content. Some nice, good, simple definitions. You might have, for example, quite a complex document, a Bank of England inflation report, or whatever it is, and you want to take out and tease out of it, using AI, the key economics terms. 10, 20, whatever it is. Okay? Second prompt. So 1, create the glossary. Prompt number 2, create some short answer questions for A-level economics students that test their understanding of this material. So using the same PDF, it creates for me 6 questions, including some quite nice calculation questions. So you could say, look, for each, there should be at least 3 calculation questions. Okay, and this is really useful for teachers looking to create worksheets and exam-style calculation questions to practice quantitative skills. And of course, ChatGPT, a lot of teachers now using it to create mini or slightly larger case studies. Let's take a topic I'm particularly keen on, Brexit. So here's my initial prompt. Write a case study of 200 words on Brexit and the UK economy. And this is the answer that it generated for me. Again, if you wanted to be more ambitious, you could ask it to write 400 words on Brexit. I just wanted to keep it to 200 so we can look at it on the screen together. Well, I wanted to improve it, so my second prompt is include at least 3 pieces of data in the case study, because I want my students to practice using data in extracts to help get them application marks in the exam. And again, you could say get ChatGPT to create some tables as well as just text. Add questions that encourage evaluation skills. So that's my third prompt, and they created 2 questions there which you could use as a basis for a practice essay, certainly as a basis for classroom discussion. So just working through again. So initial prompt, create the case study. Yeah, I need some data in there, please. And please put some questions in. So you can now, with a series of prompts, iterative process, you get a great result. And then developing it further. So a research prompt. Please find and reference 2 recent studies that have attempted to measure the impact of Brexit on the UK. And it's pretty up to date. There's a report from there from Centrepiece, from the LSE, and a report from Aston University Business School. And both, by the way, were referenced in newspapers. I've checked the references, clicked on the links. They were fine. So it's now pretty good at finding published reports. And obviously there were some specialist AI, scholar AIs and things that can do that for you. Again, a research prompt. Please find and reference the views of opposing economists on the issue of Brexit. So compare and contrast different views. We have Minford and Bootle, largely supportive of Brexit, certainly during the referendum campaign, whereas the LSE, slightly centre-left, a critique of Brexit, highlighting potential trade disruptions and economic costs. So who was right? Well, maybe it's too early to tell. So there we go. So case studies, sorry, just quickly, rushing ahead of myself here. Case studies, glossaries, exam questions, flashcards, loads and loads and loads of different ways you can use generative AI. Can I suggest 3 books to read? I've read 2 so far. I'm about to start the third. Mustafa Solomon's book, the co-founder of DeepMind, is both slightly negative in the sense of fearing what AI might do, but also hugely positive in terms of what it can do. And Solomon is a big believer in conversational, empathetic AI. Yuval Noah Harari has a much more historical view with Nexus, a brief information of information networks from the Stone Age, and I was there, to AI. And the book of the year last year, Palmy Olson's book, Supremacy, AI, ChatGPT and the Race That Will Change the World. 3 books definitely worth reading. The last book there is a page turner. It really is excellent. And of course, all of these authors will have been discussing their work on YouTube, and you can use ChatGPT to find out more about those books. So there we go. What I've tried to do is walk you through some examples of how students and teachers can use generative AI in their teaching. It's really scratching the surface. But if I was to summarise, it's first of all the use of intelligent prompts, conversational AI, the iterative process, not just throwing one prompt at AI and hoping you're going to get all the answers. You really need to build and practice how you prompt the AI to work. Using AI to generate resources for revision, for teaching and learning, and critically flipping it so you get AI to ask you the questions so you can go on a learning journey yourself. If you think about, I'm going to flip all the way through, by the way, to the first or the second slide. Here we go. Let's go back all the way to this slide here. This was my experience of being at university in the mid-1980s. Now, by the way, that's the 1980s, not the 1880s. And I love the tutorial style of teaching. I still try to use it, okay? Leave the technology outside the room and let's have a proper, intelligent conversation. AI allows you essentially to have a conversation with any economist that's ever lived. If you use intelligent prompting, it's been trained on millions, billions of words and documents on the web. You can have a conversation essentially with any economist who's ever lived. And that is extremely powerful if you want to learn more about a wonderful subject, both as a student and a teacher. So I'm a big believer in harnessing the use of AI. I still believe in the power of discussion and debate without technology, but technology as a complement can be a hugely, hugely beneficial process. Hey, look, thanks for joining in. If you have some thoughts and some comments, please leave them in the comment section of the video. I'll try my best to get back to you. I will provide this as a blog entry on the website, and you can download the presentation if you want to. Take care, stay happy, stay safe, stay curious, and see you sometime soon.